to our studio to share our story. So just take a watch.
Back to the show. You're still on Loud Whispers, and with me today, like I promised, a very interesting guest, and it's a different one today. I assure you, it's a very different one. So my guest today is Mrs. Lateefah B. Ibrahim. She is a chartered accountant, now a life coach, and today she'll be taking us on a tour through her health journey. She is cancer survival. Alhamdulillah, she's here today to tell us about it, how she got through it, how she discovered it, and everything that she went through during this journey. So please join me in welcoming to the show Mrs. Lateefah Ibrahim. You're welcome, ma.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We are glad to have you.
Thank you.
Just give us a brief introduction about you, what you do, where you're from, and basically what you want people to know about you. Briefly, ma.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me. She got my name correct, so there's no problem about that. Only that I like to put B in the middle, Lateefah B Ibrahim. The B stands for Bamidele, because there are many Lateefah Ibrahim there. So I'd like to. So on social media, I'm Lateefah B Ibrahim. So I'm a chartered accountant. I started life as a chartered accountant, gone through many things, and but now I'm a life coach because that's what I like to do. I like helping people. I'm attracted to helping people. So basically, that's what I like to do.
Interesting. A chartered accountant now turned life coach. That's like you started on a very big, profession, and now you're helping people. Alhamdulillah. So since we're talking health issues today, she's a cancer survivor, like I said earlier. We want to know what it felt like from your own side. So what kind of cancer was it? When did you discover? How did you discover it?
It was ovarian cancer, and it was discovered in 2014, middle of 2014. I usually go for medical checkups, and the last time I went for medical checkup, the doctor said I had urinary tract infection, which I've never had before. She gave me, I remember, before it 2014? No, in 2014, before it was discovered. So she said, I was complaining about being uncomfortable. She said I had urinary tract infection. So she gave me, I remember very well, Flotac. I took Flotac, and the pain was still there, but I think the pain started when I decided to do some exercises. So I put it down to the exercises that I pulled some muscles. Okay. So the pain was there, and the pain was just generally in my stomach. Then I remember very well at a Jumat service, I was sitting down and I felt a pain by the side, the right hand side to the back. Yes, at the back. The pain was, so I still felt, because I was going for medical checkup, I didn't think I should be alarmed about anything. So I was coping with the pain. And by then, my son was abroad studying for his master's. I have only one child, actually, so he was abroad. So I said I wanted to visit him before his exams, before his final exams. So I remember praying very well, God, oh Allah, please, I don't want to feel this pain. I want to go and come back. And miraculously, I didn't feel any pain. I went there. I remember I passed through Dubai, came back, enjoyed myself, no problem. I said the pain had gone. And it was almost Ramadan period. So I said, okay, I want to go and spend Ramadan in Ilorin because I'm from Ilorin.
Wow.
I want to go and spend Ramadan in Ilorin with my auntie. My parents are there, but I had my auntie in my house. So I got to Ilorin, and immediately I arrived in Ilorin, the pain became unbearable. So my auntie touched my stomach, said I can feel something there. So immediately the following day, I took another flight back to Abuja, went to see my doctor. And she checked me, she said I should go for a scan, abdominal scan. And I went there. I don't know if any radiologist or what do they call them is listening, but please be sensitive. They were doing this, And there was a trainee, I think. He was saying, can you see it? It has metastasized. What is the word? Metastasized or whatever. Can you see it? I mean, my head was about to explode. They didn't, I was listening,
Yes.
and they were not talking to me. They were talking to the other. Can you see it? Can you see this? Can you see that?
Scary things. Wow.
So I got the result, and I went back to the doctor. My BP had shot up, you know. So the doctor was trying to say, but by then she said there's a growth there, and it has. I said, I remember very well, don't grow Peking, Abby.
That was what you asked?
That was what I asked the doctor, because it was funny to me that the thing had, you know, grown, and it
But
had
you knew
like.
what you were talking about.
Yes, of course, by then it was a tumor, it was a growth, you know, when they were talking about it. So she said, she referred me to the gynecologist or something. This was at National Hospital. So I remember talking to my cousin. I'm very close to a cousin of mine. I talked to her that this is the issue. So she said there is a new hospital that she took somebody to that can try the hospital. You know, Ramadan was getting close.
Already.
So I went to the hospital. And as Allah would have it, there was a very good doctor there, a Muslimah doctor, who said that I did other series of tests then, and basically she told me that we are going to do an operation, and when the test confirms whatever, there was going to be chemotherapy. Now, I said, okay. And she scheduled the operation that we have to do it as soon as possible. Alhamdulillah, I had the funds to do the operation there because it's a private hospital. So
when you discovered, it was not you didn't go into, it's not possible, how can I have it? You didn't feel anything like that? You were just willing to go for, what was that?
To me, what I felt was that, look, let me get this thing out of me as soon as possible.
Oh, you didn't think it was cancer, you just thought it was
I knew it was cancer. I knew it would be cancer, because it would be cancerous, you know. So I said, okay. So when they scheduled the operation for, I think, 4th Ramadan of 2014 or thereabout, it was a Thursday. And I knew the doctor was fasting too, so I was relaxed, you know. So I said, can I fast a few days to the operation? He said, yes, I can fast. So Alhamdulillah, the operation was successful. Now, my veins are very tiny, but Alhamdulillah, they didn't have problem locating the vein for the operation, which is relevant to later on that I'll talk about. So we had the operation, Alhamdulillah, it was successful. And the test came back, they said I had to go through chemotherapy, that I had to do 6 courses of chemotherapy. There's a good pharmacist I know, and I went to her that I needed this. So she got me the 6 doses, expensive drugs. So I told the doctor that I have collected the 6. She said, why did I collect 6? That you think can keeping them and all that. So I ran back to the pharmacy. She said she hoped they can. Anyway, they took some back from me. So they gave me 3 courses. So the first chemotherapy. Now, the relevant thing I'm talking about the vein. They couldn't get a vein to insert. They called their best surgeon to come and look for the vein. They couldn't find.
So what was the chemotherapy like? Can you describe that experience? Is it just taking the medicine?
No, it's intravenous.
Okay.
So that's why they were looking for my vein to insert the syringe to put the drug.
Okay.
You know, so they couldn't find it. Anyway, to cut a long story short, they had to do a mini operation to open up the vein to do it. And I think it took about 2 hours or 3 hours. First, they put drip, they put the drugs and all that. But anyway, the effect of the drug is not a piece of cake. It's not a walk in the park. It was terrible. It wasn't painful. I was throwing up. I was uncomfortable, and you know.
You were in the hospital?
I was in the hospital for like 2-3 days for the chemotherapy. And you know, the effect of the chemotherapy, and I had to be nursing the wound. So they are supposed to do this next course in 2 weeks' time. Okay. And they couldn't do it. We had to wait for 3 weeks for the wound to heal. So they had to cut the other arm to look for vein again and do that. So the effect that time was so terrible, and throwing up, feeling, you know, I was beginning to lose my hair, and You know, so
Oh, your hair was coming off.
yes, it didn't completely come off eventually. It didn't completely come off. But my hair has thinned out. I used to have very thick hair, but it has thinned out, you know. So by the time we did the second one, I prayed that the third one, I prayed that they should please find a way because I can't go through the nursing of the wound again.
But what was your general countenance then? Was it a like, I'm hoping on Allah?
Of course, it goes without saying you hope on Allah.
The doctors are going to get this thing done. Was it like that? Because you...
No,
maybe
to
just
me,
now you sound
to
very
me,
comfortable.
No, I was this calm then too. I was
not
calm.
Scared?
No. I wasn't scared. To me, it was like, let's get this thing out and let's do this thing step by step. Let's do the operation first. Let's do the chemotherapy. But the chemotherapy was getting too difficult. So at the third chemotherapy, luckily they found a vein on the wrist, which was unusual. The thing burnt my wrist, but the thing had healed now. So I was able to do the third chemotherapy without operation, cutting a vein. And I told Allah that, look, I want to take my chances. I didn't want to go through these 6 courses of it. I couldn't see myself going through the 6 courses. And I remember talking to the nurse who was attending to me. She said, by God's grace. She said, she was a Christian. She said, by God's grace, you won't need to go through. Not many people go through the
6
courses.
So it was possible to eradicate it before the 6th course.
And when they did the test, when the test came out, they said they would do tests after each.
Yes.
Yes. It was good. The results were good. After the third one, I just decided to put my faith in Allah and take my chances. I said I wasn't going to go for more chemotherapy. Now, for anybody listening that has cancer, don't be like me. Do what comes naturally. If the doctor tells you to do 6 courses, please do the 6 courses. Me, I just couldn't find the will to continue. That whatever will happen, I was going to take my chances. And I remember getting back home.
What were your chances? What did you consider your chances? You were ready to take your chances. What if it didn't work?
Okay, well, I thanked Allah that I've lived a very good life, that if anything happens. So I will tell you what I did after the third chemotherapy. So after the third chemotherapy, I came back home. And I remember standing in my room with a cup of water, praying in the cup of water, and telling Allah, with every fiber of my being, that, oh Allah, I need a miracle. I prayed. And there's this verse in the Quran, I think it's in Surah Shuara, this, why is that Lateefah? When I'm sick, you are the one to heal. I think it's the prayer of Ibrahim or I can't remember, Prophet Ibrahim or something. Or Ayub, I can't remember. But I remember that verse, I was always reciting it. So I was always going for tests. They would say, it's okay. So, and you see, when things like that happened, I started seeing things online, things I should eat, things I should not eat. Yes. Looking back now, it was probably because I went on a binge of eating kidney, liver, heart. I will fry it and I'll be eating.
Well, that was what
I don't know whether that was what caused it, but since then I've not eaten red meat again. I stopped eating cow meat. I'll just buy Cayenne chicken and fry it and put it in the fridge in my room. I had a fridge in my room and be eating it. So I guess I overdid it. I don't know what caused it. We don't know. They don't know what causes cancer. But I overindulged in food items at that point in time. So since then, I've been very careful about what I eat. You know. So basically, and this was in 2014. I go for tests regularly, and alhamdulillah, they tell me that it's okay, that the tests are okay. So
after your third course of the chemotherapy.
After the third, I'm talking over the years now. After the third course, okay. And I remember so what I did to cope with the thought that this could be it, I said, look, I've learned so many things. I have so many qualifications, so many certificates. I know so many things. What can I do? I said, I want to put it out there. So I started a blog. Because by then I was already a stockbroker. So I started a blog. I called it Halal Stocks Nigeria. Halal Stocks Nigeria.
While battling
with
cancer?
after
The third chemotherapy.
I think I even started before the final chemotherapy, and in the middle of that chemotherapy, I was doing this course online. This CS50 is an Harvard course online on edX.org.
Yes, EDX.
Yes. There's this flagship course you do when you go online to be doing courses. You have to do CS50, Introduction to Computer Programming. It's by Harvard. So I was in the middle of it. I had finished it, but I hadn't written my project.
Okay.
So I think before the third course, I finished my project and submitted it.
Oh, wow.
You know, so after the third course, I decided I wasn't going to do. So I said the thing I would do is put what I know out there. So I started a blog, Halal Talks. I started talking because I studied Islamic finance too. I started writing on Islamic finance, and I had the blog on for like 2 or 3 years before I pulled it down.
Well, that's very good. You seem very calm. We'll talk about that actually.
Okay.
But I think you really handled this situation in a very different manner. I've seen people who had cancer and they've handled it differently. Yours is very different, I must admit. And we'll talk about that. But let's go on a very short break, and when we come back, we'll continue. Welcome back. We're still on Loud Whispers, and we're still talking to our guest who is, giving us her journey through the survival of cancer, ovarian cancer. So, Mrs. Lateefah, you were saying, you said you survived cancer. Alhamdulillah, you're very fine now. You've been doing tests after then, and nothing is ever going to come back.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yes,
okay, so before we round up the show, we'd like you to tell us, or give us an advice. What would you advise someone going through cancer to do, or maybe to even do before discovering it, or to even prevent it generally? What would you advise somebody who doesn't have enough funds? What would you advise generally to manage the situation?
Okay. Basically, I would say diet is important. I now pay very close attention. I've always paid attention to my diet, but sometimes you can derail. So you pay attention, you listen to what they say. Eat lots of vegetables. I don't eat red meat anymore. I eat chicken and fish, but not too much, So eat lots of vegetables and try to keep your weight down. I'm still struggling with that. So on the issue of financing, I had financing challenge. I was okay when I started because I asked them at the hospital how much will it cost. I had enough money then, but I didn't factor in the operation they had to do to cut the veins. So by the time we are doing it, it was part of the reasons I didn't want to continue with the chemotherapy, because I remember part of the things I prayed to Allah for is that, oh Allah, I don't want to start begging anybody for funds. It was a specific prayer that I didn't want to start begging anybody for funds. And alhamdulillah, I didn't have to beg anybody for funds. The little funds I had in my savings then, I remember when my son came back, I made him signatory in my bank account in case I'm not in a position to get up and all that. But by the time I finished all my treatment, there wasn't anything to be signatory to anymore. The bank account had gone down. Wow. But alhamdulillah, I'm okay. Everything is okay. So I would advise people, just be prayerful. Faith can do a great deal. If you have not been paying attention to your faith, please do it, whatever faith you belong to. Alhamdulillah, my faith has served me well. It has always served me well. And may Allah continue to let me keep my faith and iman intact. And may it continue to grow. And for all of us too. So keep your faith intact, eat the right things, and have positive attitude. That cancer diagnosis is not the end of the world. There are many survivors out there. You don't have to be going about with long faces. Be strong and think of what you can do to help people. So basically...
Thank you very much. I must admit I've learned a lot today, and I'm sure that our viewers too would appreciate your coming today. Thank you very much, ma.
Thank you for having me.
So our viewers at home, thank you very much for staying tuned with us today. We hope that you are inspired, are motivated, are moved by this story, and you've learned a lot of things, because I have. Honestly, I have. So, until next time, we are rounding up the show, and we'll say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Daytona for that beautiful presentation out there and interaction with Hajia Lateefah B. Ibrahim. She said, I love the fact where she actually stressed that name, that that a lot of Lateefah Ibrahim, that our own is Lateefah Bamidele Ibrahim. So it actually gets to what makes that distinction about the name. So you've actually been able to, one thing I actually took for myself is for the fact that cancer is actually hereditary. She actually mentioned the fact that her father and mother also had cancer, and for the fact that our own father died of prostate cancer, which is that statistics say that every man above the age of 40 are at the risk of prostate cancer. So the key to it is early detection. So I hope you enjoyed every bit of today's show, and do try as much as possible to catch a glimpse on every subsequent episode by subscribing to our YouTube channel and liking all our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at iMedia TV. Daily Drip is a program where we showcase Islamic content for the Muslim population, and we have lots and lots of content coming to you from Daily Drip, and in the coming days you get to be having interesting package. So tomorrow we are going to be having a particular feature story, and it is on the Muslim personality of the week, and you get to be meeting our maiden guest on the Muslim personality of the week. Thank you for watching, and have a very interesting day ahead. My name is still Shamsuddin Abdurazak Gidado.